I'd like to show you how to repair a zipper on some jeans. These are nice jeans. Jeans are always expensive, and you'll find that, you know, some little teeth will pop out. There's no way to fix that zipper to put teeth back in. It just doesn't work. And so I need to buy a zipper. They always put metal zippers in jeans, so that's what I have. I measured to make sure that it's long enough. It will be a little bit too long, but I'm going to show you how to take care of the extra length. Now, inspect your zipper, figure out how it was put in originally, and that will help. Every set might be a little bit different. So this zipper might be different than the pants you're working with, but I'm going to show you kind of the process. Now, all of this top stitching, your goal is to not interrupt that top stitching. You can buy this kind of thread. I've had a hard time having it work in my machine. You have to change the tension, mess with the tension, which I don't like to do. So I'm going to slip this zipper out and try to slip it back in without disrupting any of the top stitching. So I'm going to unpick this. I will use just a navy blue thread to sew it back in and a zipper foot. Now on this one, the stitches on this side of the zipper are actually in the fly. So that's not going to look as nice. But if I find thread that matches this, maybe not, won't be a dark navy blue, but a lighter blue, I'm going to do that because the zipper was actually put in before the fabric was pulled over and top stitched. So there's no way I can do it exactly the way this was done without interrupting all this top stitching. And I'm trying to find the easiest way to do it. Now I'm also going to have to just release a little bit here to pull that zipper out of the waistband. And this side, I'm going to try to snip it out because I don't want to interrupt that top stitching that shows. So I'll unpick it and then show you how I'm going to place that zipper in the seam here and how I'll lay it in here. Now, I still have the zipper attached because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do down here at the bottom where it's sewn in. But I changed my mind on this. I decided I didn't want to disrupt that top stitching. So I just cut it out and then cut that zipper right at that seam. And then when this new zipper comes up, I'm going to tuck this part under like that so it's not interfering, and then the facing that I unpicked comes on top. Now I aligned this zipper so that the stitch line is exactly where I could see it was unpicked. You know, it has where the stitches kind of pulled the fabric, and you can see it, and you line it up right where I'm going to stitch on that zipper. Then I put the facing over and I'll carefully pin it so that it's straight, so that the distance here across the zipper will be absolutely equal. You want that zipper to lay in there in that fly just the way it was. Okay, now my zipper is a little bit longer than what I need. Now if I pull this back, I can see where the zipper stop is. I'm going to pull this zipper down to exactly that length of where that zipper stop is, plus about 2 teeth. Then I'm going to take a double threaded needle, and I'm going to make my own zipper stop by going over and over. Just wrap it till it's got a little thick area, as thick as that stop is, and that will stop my zipper in the same place this zipper stopped. Okay, I've unpicked the other side as well. Just cut it out of this so I didn't interrupt this top stitching. Then I actually marked, and I can do this with chalk or with pins like I did. I marked where the teeth ended, right there. so that when I bring this new zipper up, the teeth are going to end. I'll do it with it open, and I'll bring those teeth over and lay them right next to where these are, the marked markings where I left the pins. And I could chalk that, which might work better. All right, so I'm going to take a zipper foot and I'm going to sew right where the original stitches were on this side, so that this side is completely secure. Then I'm going to go right down in here and cut that zipper out. I don't want to unpick it out. I want to just cut it out. Then I'm going to lay the zipper in, and with my zipper foot I can get really close on this top stitching. This is a little easier to see. I've cut that zipper out. It's okay if there's a little fabric left in there. I've just got it all out of there, and cut it out with scissors you don't like, because you're going to like them even worse after you cut over that metal zipper. Just some icky old scissors will do. And now you can see how that's laying in there, ready to sew. The little fly is in there, and I've pinned it so that this is absolutely the right distance away from the zipper, all the way down. Now I'm going to pull the fly out of the way, and I'm going to lay this down. You can unzip it, put that down in there, and I'm going to lay this second part down so that the teeth are lined up with my marking of where they were before. I have this side pinned, and the teeth of this side of the zipper were placed right where I had marked where it was before. And I put the pins this way because what I'm going to do now is close it up, just zip it right up. I don't need the pins on that side anymore. I'm going to zip it up, and I'm going to make sure that that fly is laying exactly close the way it needs to be. You don't want it to be out here or here. You've got to make sure that it's lined up, and it's not going to be up or down. It's going to match right here as well. Now the trick is I want a top stitch on this side, but the zipper's on this side. So what I'm going to do is take a pin right where I want the stitches to be. I'm going to go through like that, and it will transfer it to this side. Then I'm going to take that pin and move it to this side. Okay, so I'm going to have a perfect line of where to sew on this side so that the zipper is exactly where this stitching is exactly where it needs to be on this side. Now notice up here where I didn't want to interrupt this top stitching, I have brought the zipper right up to the waistband, but I've tucked this extra fabric back behind like that, and I can cut that off when I'm all done. I'm going to sew across here too to secure that. On the original zipper there were actually 2 rows of stitches, so once I get this first row in, I'm going to turn it over and sew closer to this edge. So there are actually 2 sets of stitches to make sure that this part doesn't flop open, that it's secured down. This side you don't have to worry because it's in the seam and that's holding that, but this is out flat, and so there'll be a second row of stitches. And see how that's just tucked in really nice. I did my stop down there, and once that's in, I'm going to go ahead and hand stitch that down so that this doesn't pop out, right? Because it's not in the top stitching anymore. I cut it out, and I don't want to interrupt all this. So I'm going to make sure that this little tail doesn't flip out. I'm going to take it and hand sew, whip stitch that down. So all right, now I went ahead and sewed down this side, and I had all these pins lined up along here to show me exactly where to sew, and I had to remove the pins as I went. Now I'm coming down here to the bottom, and I've got that really bulky zipper tab right there. And so before I continue stitching, I'm going to go ahead and close this up so that that zipper tab is not in the way. Now I'm going to keep sewing down, but remember I've got to pull that fly out of the way. And I'm going to sew down as far as I can get without hitting that fly. And notice here how I pulled that part of the zipper top out of the way, and I'm going to clip that. But see, I got the zipper right to the edge, so it looks pretty nice. And then the other thing I didn't mention is when jeans are put together, they are put together with a much thicker thread. And again, I have a hard time on my machine because I have to adjust the tension and it just makes a mess. So I did use regular thread, but I backstitched, and I would backstitch as I'd go along. Every once in a while, I went over it several times. So I don't want to see the zipper again in my mending pile, right? I want to be done with these. So this is going to look nice now that that tab is out of the way. I can just come down and stitch. A little bit of a change of what I told you before. I was sewing on top with this closed, sewing along here as far as I could with the fly open. Now I couldn't get very deep into that fly, and I tried it and it didn't. It was caught up here, and so it didn't open as far, and I didn't like that. So what I did do was open it up, and I stitched it here instead of up here because I just couldn't open that across. See how it's tacked here? And so it was pulling over, and I had to stop up here sewing on top, which made it the opening not enough. So then I unpicked that, opened it up, stitched it down here. I could get it just as far as the original zipper or where this tacking is, and it looks great. So you know, you'll have to just go along, kind of problem solve. Your zipper may not be exactly like this zipper, but you've kind of watched the process of how I figured out how to mark it, how to lay it in there, how to zip it up, how to so that I'm not sewing around that heavy tab down here. Keep it flat, keep it exactly positioned right, so that this is it's not gaping open or anything like that. So there you go.